But
I'm old.
it's similar to what you're saying about the way your body stops producing it. It's similar to like testosterone and stuff like that. When people take test boosters and then now it fucks their whole like.
Dude, that's the biggest thing that could fucking damage your body is putting in exogenous hormones. You see it a lot, not so much in wrestling with testosterone, but you see it a lot with human growth hormone, where you wrestle these dudes. Like I remember I was a senior, and I'm not gonna really be out on people, but I wrestled dudes that barely fucking had hair, and they were freshmen. And then you can just feel a huge difference. And I know, dude, because everyone knows you did it because you used to have to fucking travel with it when you went to Fargo. You used to have to travel with it when you went on these dual meets. I mean, it was prescribed by a doctor, but
Yeah.
it was used a lot as a performance enhancer, bro. And when I was a kid, I'm sure, Freddie, we were in the same boat where we were really little. I remember I was Freddie's weight class when I was a kid, and it was like, hey, my mom took me to the doctor to take that as an option because we didn't know my growth scale. And now imagine we had no idea that I was going to be a very good athlete. I mean, we had some idea, but that was no reason to put an exogenous hormone in my body. And with these kids that go there that are national champions and that are winning Tulsa as a kid, they're out there doing it. And it's like, man, look at me.
So
I grew up to be.
So like my brother was on that. So like me and my brother both went to the I forget what they're called.
Endocrinologist.
Endocrinologist. Yeah, we went to the endocrinologist, got our bone age checked. You know, I'm like 13 years old. My brother's like 11 and a half. And because they said they were gonna put me on them, but they said because I hit puberty already that it wasn't a good idea. So then I was like, all right. So then I just
hit
puberty, and then I grew in after that. But my brother was so small, he wasn't even on the chart. He wasn't even on the chart. He was below the whole thing. So he was on HGH growing up. So he was, you know, putting him in his legs and his arms, but I didn't get to do them because I was puberty.
Do you think that it benefited him with athletics?
I don't know. I want to say no. Because like I think it could have potentially, because I don't know what the real thing that they said that it does for you is it's not going to make you any taller than what you are. It's just going to get you to your height faster. So it could help, but I think because his bone age was so young that he wasn't even it maybe helped him in the way that he's getting to his bone age faster to where now he's actually the size and strength he's supposed to be.
And now to speak on that. So what that does for athletic performance is if they did a study where if they took kids that stayed back or were older for their age, for their grade group, they did better at performance tournaments and did better on testing. So what then happens is the number one key factor in development is like having a developer or a mentor or a teacher, right? And them showing you attention. So you get the most knowledge by getting the most attention from the coaches. So I know you guys are both coaches, both teachers. So you look at the bright students and then you work more time with them, correct? Now imagine
theoretically that's what happens.
Yeah.
Right. So now imagine an athlete.
Yeah.
Imagine an athlete is better. You're going to spend more time with him. And if he's winning tournaments at a young age, at let's just say 10, 11, because he has higher bone density, more muscle mass, he's going to get more knowledge as well as already being older than the kids. So they're predisposed to be more successful. And I think the rate was at a 400 or 500 times scholarship rate from the kids who were a year older when they were like 10 and then got that attention.
Well, see, like with that, I think comes in with I think some of it also has to come with like mentality, right? So like typically coaches are drawn more to the person who's wants to be there, right? And then that also can correlate as well. So I think it'd be interesting to run like a test with the psychology of those people that were tested for that, you know, to see where they're, you know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
It makes sense, but the numbers are clear that the scholarships go to those kids at a 500% higher rate, you know, a 5-to-1 rate basically. So like their psychology is definitely important. I mean, some kids burn out, some kids don't, but
it makes sense. It makes sense. I've seen it like
for sure.
He's seen my son. He's seen my son. My son's pretty big for his age, right? Pretty big for his age. And we get to the tournaments, well, he's cleaning out locally. He's cleaning out locally. So, but when we go to the national tournaments, we get match up from a kid from out of Houston. You match up from a kid from out of Dallas. And this kid, and I'm like, yo, he's biggest one. This kid comes out and he's rocked. And Reese looks over to me. He's like, that kid ain't. I was like, yeah, he is. No, that kid's from Louisiana, I think that is. That kid's from Louisiana. This kid's rocked, right? But like the next year, this is probably like a year or two ago, the next year, this kid now is in his proper, like he moves up and everybody else is like now rocked, right? And now I was like, why? Like, and that kid jumped like 20 or 30 pounds. So I'm like, were they really having this kid drop 20 to 30 pounds at this age? It's gonna, it should stifle his growth, right?
Oh, so yeah, like, definitely, bro. Like,
so it makes me think. It makes me think where like, is this kid part of that program where he's getting to his size or like the bone growth or like where he needs to be quicker than everyone else, and he's like putting in this and he's like mopping everybody because he's bigger than them. He's bigger than them. He's stronger than them.
Well, this is the difference between what Richie was talking about earlier. So like, you got kids like my brother that needed that shit, right? And then you got kids who dads had heard about it and they don't really need it, but now they're on it because they paid that doctor that money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm not gonna name no names, but there's a lot of kids like that I seen growing up.
And then you see them, and then we're competing against them in the future. And it's like, yo, these dudes have 4 years of it. What these drugs do is it grows more cells in your body, and the cells don't fucking go away, bro. You know, it's like if you look at energy production with ATP and everything, they literally have more cells in their body, and their bone density is higher, so they're going to be not naturally, but they're going to be stronger. You know, and I think that's an issue. That's an issue in sport, but it's never going to.
Doesn't it help with recovery too?
What'd you say?
What happened?
Doesn't it speed up recovery as well?
Yeah, it speeds up recovery.
Yeah, it's huge.
So so it puts them in a position to be able to wrestle 100, 150 matches a year, right?
Easily.
Without like, I can get all these matches in. But all right, so my question then, right? So you guys wrestled at a high level, right? You wrestled at a high level. What would be like the idea, like nutrition guide for young athletes coming up?
Dude, your question. Full Dimension Nutrition over here.
Yeah, so I own a nutrition company actually. For kids, I mean, you just want to keep them away from sugar, have them drinking right probiotics, and have them eating as naturally as possible. To have a kid grow, the most important factor people think it's protein, but it's actually carbohydrates because it helps your cells kind of double faster. So as a kid, if you look at a kid that, let's just say he's eating, 2,000 calories a day of food or 3,000 calories a day of food because you want him to grow, if you feed that kid like 60-70% carbs, he's going to be bigger. If you feed him over the next, let's just say, couple years, he'll be bigger than if you did a 30-30 split. He may have more inflammation in his body. I'm not completely sure on that, but I know that if you feed the kids carbs, they grow at an exponential rate faster than if you didn't.
So we're talking healthy carbs, right? Healthy carbs.
Yeah, we're talking any kind of carbs. So if we're talking about growing, we're talking about any kind of carbs. We're talking about health, obviously healthy carbs. Healthy carbs I would define as sugar that's attached to a fiber, which is in fruit. So that's probably the healthiest carb that you can eat. Blueberries are good because they have B12 in it, so it helps break down the carbohydrates literally as you're eating them. So I think blueberries probably the best fruit for athletes, because they have the B vitamins in it.
How do you feel for breads when you eat breads? Like 12 grains, do you eat any of that type of stuff?
I try to stay away from it. I mean, when I'm dieting, I definitely don't eat any bread. If anything, I'll eat sprouted grain bread, like Ezekiel bread.
Okay.
But I think grains they're terrible for your body, man. They're processed. So if you look at spaghetti, right? For a random example, spaghetti in America has gluten in it. Spaghetti in Italy has no gluten in it. So what gluten is like, let's just say there's a carbohydrate, right? How many carbohydrates are attached to it, and how dense is it, right? So the idea behind it is like this, like, I know you're gonna love this because it's like big pharma, Monsanto like bashing. So what these companies like Monsanto did was they said, hey, okay, let's grow a stock of wheat. The stock of wheat is this big and it weighs 1 pound. Let's just say it makes 1 box of spaghetti, right? They're like, hey, let's get the biggest genes out of here, edit them, and then let's have the same size weigh 10 pounds. So now we get 10 boxes of spaghetti, essentially increasing our profits by 10x, right?
Exactly.
So now the wheat is that much denser and that much tighter and has that many more chains attached to it that our body can't break it down, and that's what gluten is. So now when you're eating carbohydrates in America, right, you're eating a seven carbs or whatever attached to one molecule, and it's like your body's only going to break down 2 of them, so it's going to bind up in your stomach, and that's why you get that bloating feeling. Whereas if you're in Italy, those people eat carbs every day, but they come from a different plant that's not genetically modified, you know. So what'd you say?
So gluten free for those like breads and stuff.
Yeah, look for gluten free in any carbs that you eat, but there's also like a bunch of different kinds of it that's not gluten. Like I don't know the exact verbiage for it, but I know gluten I think is attached to like 7 different things, and there's other ones that are attached to 6, other ones that have like different molecules in them. But you want to get it in the least processed form possible, if you can in general.
Okay. Does that so let's say like you said when you eating these ones that have 7 attached to them, is that stressing your body out too as well?
So it's creating a bunch of inflammation in your gut, in your body. Yeah, that's why you get bloated, and that's why your face kind of blows up. Especially people who are like sensitive to it. That's why there's gluten-free allergies. Really, everyone's allergic to gluten to a certain extent. It's just how well your body can manage it. And this is something that I did want to get into when we were talking about growing, is like if you look at people from all different areas of the world, like so my family's from I'm half Colombian and then half European, like German, Irish, down like that Norwegian coastline. I could probably handle a lot of salt better because my ancestors grew up in that region where they had to pickle things in order to preserve them, right? Someone who's from Italy grew up eating a lot of salt and a lot of carbohydrates, so their body can handle the carbohydrates a lot better than I'm personally going to be able to, right? So you look at these different areas, you could kind of tell where your body is, and that's why it's beneficial to have these DNA tests that say your exact ancestry. And there's companies now where you can send your DNA to, and then they say, hey, this is what you're predisposed to. Hey, this is what you should be eating that your body can process correctly. Hey, this is what kind of carbohydrates that you need. Hey, this is what kind of minerals that you need. And for me, I've noticed specifically with the salt is when I get blood tested fairly regularly, and my sodium levels are consistently high, but I could cut weight very easily. So then I'm like, hey, just through process of elimination, hey, so I need a lot of sodium to form at a high level, but my body can also excrete it very fastly because it's used to it. So my levels are either extremely high or extremely low, you know? And that's a huge part of cutting weight.
Right.
What'd you say?
I said I have to keep my salt levels high because the amount I sweat when I work out, or else I'll just cramp up so bad.
That's all I am.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm talking like I know I started drinking this thing called BioLite. Have you heard of them yet?
No, I'll check them out.
Yeah, they're like gas stuff, but it's like a electrolyte drink, and it's got like 600 milligrams of sodium. But it's like if I don't drink one of those, bro, and no matter how much water and potassium and like electrolytes I'm drinking before, I have to have that, or else I'll start cramping up. It's crazy.